Well,
Shall we?
yeah, I guess we'll start with a name, Phantom Souls Projector Podcast. And the way I think about this podcast is for people who are feeling afraid to share their truths in the world. And we hope to inspire more people to be able to do that each and every day, through this podcast and connections and radiating love. So that's the general idea. Anyway, my name is Ryan Kalish. I'm a former Major League Baseball player. I played for the Chicago Cubs and the Boston Red Sox. And during my career, I was lucky enough to win 2 World Series titles while also enduring 14 surgeries. Michael, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. My name is Michael Paulser. I am a online and in-person functional training specialist based here in Austin. So my in-person stuff is here at Onnit, and then of course the virtual is everywhere in the world, and that's my mission. And at surface level, we'll go deeper, but there we have it. We're
Yeah.
in.
And we met at On It, of
We
course.
did.
I'm new in town. It's been almost 3 weeks, I think. And obviously, yeah, being new in town, but also new to America. It's been 4.5 years or so since I even came to visit. I left for Asia, and there was something about On It and that gym and Aubrey Marcus's vibe from Instagram that just drew me very much to this area. And obviously, we met and we've shared stories. I feel like we're brothers. We've done this before, potentially in a past life. So, yeah, I mean, I guess without kind of holding it up anymore, let's just get into the story, right?
Sure.
I'm feeling very called to share my 100% authentic truth. So let's do it. So obviously, baseball career has already been mentioned. It didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to with all of those surgeries. I mean, 14 surgeries was a lot. I pushed my body through limitations I didn't really know I had. But in the end, I did get to walk away with 2 World Series titles. And there's only 4 of us in Major League Baseball to have these 2 World Series titles, the Red Sox and the Cubs, because both teams kind of struggled for
I was just gonna say that.
like a decade, or I mean, sorry, a century, a whole century. There was not a lot of winning. And so I'm more of the guy you're not going to hear about through all that. The other guys, John Lester, David Ross, and John Lackey, these guys are all my heroes and teammates, and we're friends. You'll know about them, but it's like, again, we're talking about the unseen souls here. And that's what I want to get into. So the story truly kind of begins after the baseball career ends. And I thought that all of those physical injuries were going to be tough, right? But I didn't really realize what was coming was my nervous system, loss of purpose, suicidal ideation, and depression. So I want to say, yeah, it was after the career was over, I had retired. I needed to try something new, or I wanted to. I like could feel it in my body. I needed to push this energy out, focus. So I signed up for a Pilates teacher training course. I had been introduced to Pilates in my career. It's very gentle, meditative movement. And it was actually quite powerful. I had this really big feeling I would never be able to do anything outside of baseball again. And to get into this and to start to see myself progress, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Now, at the same time, I was quite a big stoner. I really enjoyed marijuana. And I had a friend who introduced me to LSD. I would like to leave his name out of this for now. But he introduces me to LSD. And I start kind of going on a journey. I'm living in Long Beach. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm feeling very good. I'm starting to feel quite powerful, right? And it was like a 7 or 8 week stretch where each weekend I was taking 2 hits of LSD. So, really kind of pushing myself into a new realm. And it was maybe the 7th weekend. And I had gone out on a Sunday morning to just go practice Pilates with a friend. And when I left, I get a call from my landlord, and the landlord says, "Hey, there's a massive fire at your apartment. What did you do? No, 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 no. I didn't do anything. So I come back. Turns out that a floorboard or underneath my floor in my room, there's a crosswire electrical fire explosion. Random. Couldn't have, yeah, thankfully I wasn't there, right? Could have been dangerous. So whatever. I have my acid trip. I make these beautiful, really nice, like huge cardboard cutout artistic work of my Pilates books to kind of get prepared for the test coming up. And it was a lot of lessons in this. Like I would make a line that I wanted to be straight, but in the end, it wouldn't be straight and it would actually fit in quite perfectly with the design. So I realized, oh, maybe there's not too many mistakes. So then the next weekend, my ex girlfriend and I drop acid for the first time for her. And it was, I don't know, a couple hours in, and she says to me, you know what? I think you have the beautiful mind. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you for that. That's nice of you. And I don't think much of it. I have a good day. So it was about 3 days later, and I'm sitting there in my living room, and I start thinking to myself, you know what? It's like this something came to me. I'm Jesus. I'm Jesus Christ. I'm here on earth, ready to do this. And it was like, whoa, what what to do with this? It's like a big energy to feel. And I wanted to just save the world. That was my goal. That was what I wanted to do. So I decided to drive up to San Francisco, where this same friend who had introduced me to LSD lived, and explain to him and my other friends some of this story. So I rent this big Airbnb. I spend a lot of money on it, maybe too much. And I'm also still smoking weed and I'm becoming quite paranoid. At the time, I don't really realize that I'm becoming a paranoid schizophrenic with the marijuana. So the way I'm explaining the story to them, I'm very paranoid. I'm scaring everybody, talking about the government coming to get me. And so it was the next day after trying to explain this. I was slightly creating some good energy with people that I wasn't saying I thought I was Jesus. I was getting these cool business meetings. People wanted to hang out. And I ended up in a very cool, like high end fancy restaurant with the owner of the Giants. And then this friend who introduced me to LSD and is a psychedelic guider comes to meet me, and he asked me to go on a ride. And when we go on the ride, he asked me what I'm feeling. I said, "Yeah, I think I'm God. I think I'm Jesus. I want to save everyone." And we go to visit his ex-girlfriend at the time, who is getting cancer treatment at the hospital. So we go to the hospital, we hang out with her, and then right after that, he says to me, "Hey man, like I know you're going to do really big things. Um, I'd like to let's make sure you're healthy, And in this Christ consciousness, Jesus vibe, I felt very trusting in everyone. So I just said, okay. So I go, I check myself into the doctor. I sit there on a hospital bed in a gown. I have my friends next to me. I have the doctor, and she asked me, hey, like, do you think you're Jesus? I said, yeah, I think I'm Jesus. And I look to my right, and there's two police officers standing by the door. And I very quickly realized that I had been tricked into a psych ward against my own will. So, okay, what to do, right? I asked my friends to leave because I need to go through this on my own. Now I'm on 72 hours of psychiatric hold every night. I have two roommates. They're coming in with a flashlight to check and see if we're gonna kill ourselves. And I'm like, I don't want to kill myself. I want to save the world. I want to help. Right. So okay, then I'm on the rooftop for an hour with fresh air with the guys, and there's some people going through psychosis, and one of the guys says, "Hey, man, you're Jesus. You're here to save us." And I'm like freaking out because to get out of the psych ward, I have to say I'm not Jesus, right? And so the next day comes, I witnessed a guy in a straitjacket try and break his own neck into a wall. That was quite traumatic. but I'm sitting there in the lunchroom practicing Pilates on the mat because they have a mat for us. And there's this, I think he's paraplegic or something, and he's a mute. This kid, he's going through some stuff. And he sees me doing the Pilates and he asked me to do an exercise or two, like through his nurse. He's like, he can't talk, but he has a way of communicating. So we put him on the floor and we ask him, are you good with this? We do two exercises. He has this crazy awakening nervous system wise. His body starts shaking. He's loving it. He's doing like shaking his head, like, yes, keep going, keep going. And so afterwards, we sit down at the table and he picks up a pencil and the nurse says, well, this is new. And he draws a stick figure of a guy with long hair and he points at the stick figure and he points at me. And you can imagine, I'm just trying to keep quiet. I have nothing. I can't, I want to get out of here, right? I'm telling the doctors what they need to hear. I want to leave. So the next day they let me out. So at this stage, I go to North Carolina to visit my parents because I was going to play baseball again or try and make a comeback in Australia, and I wanted to see my family. So while I was there, I started a GoFundMe page called the Maverick Fund, where essentially I thought through a message or the internet, people would just understand that people are suffering all over the world. They're homeless, they're hungry, people don't have homes. If we just donate to this website, people will see my message, they'll understand. Well, they didn't really understand. And I kind of got mad and I was smoking marijuana. And in this moment, I became, again, paranoid schizophrenic. It was a Friday night. I told my parents, hey, tonight's the night. The CIA is going to come and they're going to stage a suicide on us. We need to leave the house. So I tell my parents, yeah, I start to pack a bag, right? And as I'm packing a bag, I can't find my parents. And I realize my mom is calling the police on me. So for whatever reason, I become Jason Bourne in my mind. And I think if they're going to stage a suicide, the only thing to do is make this place look like a mess. So I take my own baseball bats that my parents had collected for me and I smash their house in front of their eyes. Kitchen, TVs, windows, front door, because I was scared. It was a conscious decision. I didn't want to hurt anybody, but of course, my mom, I don't think I'll ever forget those screams,
Mhm.
of their fear in their eyes. My father has his hands in his head, just like no idea what's going on. So then the cops come. I'm standing in the living room and they have their guns not drawn but ready. And I have my bats and I drop the bats and I run. So I run outside the front door, which I had intentionally broke to escape, and I'm on a golf course now, right? And I take off my shoes, I take off my shirt, and I'm hot and sweaty. And so eventually I kind of feel like I've created enough space and I get myself into a pool. And it turns out this pool was a children's birthday party. The parents were a little freaked out, but I kept my distance in the pool. I wanted to just be cooling down and alone. And then I realized that's probably not a good place. So now I get out on the golf course again and I'm on the green of one of the holes. And I see the cops kind of close and I see some people. And I go on this massive scream speech, let's say, like, wake up. We are not going to make it if we keep this up. I just start screaming and I'm like very loud when I want to be. The whole neighborhood is watching. The cops almost stop, because they know I'm not trying to hurt anybody. They understand I'm just going through something. So the speech ends and I decide, you know what? I'm going to just I'm not ready to quit. So I run down the golf course and I want to hide. So I find the bushes. Well, I don't realize that the bushes are all thorn bushes And so I run through thorns and I cut my body from basically my nipples to the bottom of my feet. And then I lay in a little bit of a like pondy area just to hide. Well, quickly, I'm pretty surrounded, right? And then I stand up to give up. And there's a little baby alligator kind of watching me, mid-sized alligator. And I just get really primal, like, leave me alone. Like, and when I do that, it runs. So, okay, that's just a little side story that we'll get to later. And then I decide it's over. It's time to give myself in. So I do. I don't go in handcuffs. I go in the ambulance with some policemen. People are definitely kind of confused. I go to a psych ward and I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder right away. Not much hearing my story. They put me on these drugs, lithium and one other thing. And yeah, it was a little scary in there too. Some people are going through some stuff. And then I get out and this connection, Christ consciousness or feeling of being Jesus is gone. And I'm real depressed again, even worse this time than post baseball.
So that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it's just the beginning.
I know. And so to give another layer,
Mhm.
what were you feeling? So you say you were diagnosed with this, this, and this. This is what was coming to me.
Mhm.
In your mind, was it reality and everyone else was crazy?
Yeah.
Or were you just like, they're not understanding?
I at the time was mad and egotistical and narcissistic and I just yeah, I felt like I was sane and everyone else in the world was insane. That was my distinct notion of what was going on. But once I got out, it was back to reality, I guess. I don't know what it was. So now it's a fight. Oh, you want to?
I was just gonna say, so that moment when you just said Christ consciousness was gone,
Mm,
it was like right over back to reality. And
yeah,
what'd you feel like that was a dream or
I didn't know what I felt. It was confusing, It was very confusing. I mean, just a little side story. Like when I grew up, my mom told me we went to Washington D.C. To visit monuments and stuff, and she wanted to hold my hand. And when she would ask me to hold her hand, I didn't want to because I would see these homeless people sleeping on the floor and these massive monuments of men, and I couldn't really make out why I felt that way. So maybe all the psychedelics and the marijuana kind of woke up something deeper inside of me that I guess potentially could have always been there. Um, that's the way I am seeing it now. So yeah, to continue from there, I still decided to go play this baseball in Australia after a month of talk therapy while staying on these bipolar meds. And so when I got to Australia, I was supposed to be there for like 6 to 8 months, and I only made it like 6 weeks. I was too sad. I was too messed up. I decided from there I was going to do 1 week in Bali just because I felt like when I got home, I was going to commit suicide. I just was so sad and no idea what was going on. And I flew back to the States. I met my mother in Los Angeles and I was completely dead inside. My mom drove me to a mental health facility in Arizona where it wasn't necessarily what I needed to be doing, but at least it was somewhere to be. It gave me a schedule. It was people like myself dealing with suicidal ideation. It was alcoholics. It was drug addicts all in one container, not necessarily very good. And I told my father during family weekend at the end, I said, all of this is fine, but unless I find a purpose, it's going to be hard for me. Like I had a baseball career and I just thought I was Jesus Christ. I thought I was here to save the world. And now what? What do I do? So I get out. I go back to Los Angeles. I'm staying between my ex-girlfriend's house with her children and my friend's house, kind of trying to just find my way. And there was this very distinct weekend where my friend left and I was staying at his apartment, and I knew he had a gun and he was gone. And I was so low. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is the weekend to take it to finish this off because this doesn't make any sense at all. So I went up to his room and I started to try and pry into his gun case. And I realized quite rapidly that I could probably really get this thing out and do this today. And it was this very quick flash of my mom,
Mhm.
and I saw my mom's face and I saw her life in the future and my friend, his gun, this is my high school friend, my best friend. I saw their life after this. And I said, you know what, man, you put this gun back and you fight like you fought for that baseball career, you went through all that surgery. You can find a way. So I put it back and time went on. I was still a mess. I mean, I was sleeping till like 2 p.m. on some days, just not even getting out of bed. And I was with my ex-girlfriend at her house and I was watching her child play with these like box Legos. And I all of a sudden had a fitness invention idea. I had the Pilates stuff going on. Actually, at this time, I was still pushing myself to teach Pilates on a few times a week just to do something. And I had this idea. And the idea is called the Cube. That's the fitness apparatus.
Mhm.
The method is called the opposition method. And the main exercise in this is the reverse squat. So you would secure somebody's feet to the floor and you would pull that person to the sky and you would ask them to squat down. So you'd have to find a harness. So I had something to give me life again. I
Mm.
felt a little better. And then not too long after, I was like, I'm having my best friends all around me in LA. My ex and I had just broken up, but I never see my friends. I want a new society. I want a new vibe. My one friend told me about Bali, and I decided I'm going to book a 3-week trip there. So I went and I stopped my meds when I got there. I met some people who were very much into changing the world. And very quickly after this, I had this connection back with Jesus. I felt again like I'm Jesus, I'm the one to save. And I felt good. Like that was like it was a very powerful energy, but it was also I wasn't in line. I wasn't balanced. My ego again was crazy. My narcissism was off the charts. And I was dealing with a lot of people all in one house. I lived with some friends and we had people over all the time, in and out, not a lot of boundaries. And there was a lot going on in there. And essentially, what happened was I blew $300,000 or so in a month. I was giving gifts because this energy, this Christ consciousness, spiritual awakening made me feel like I needed to give to receive and I needed to give money. And so I was buying gifts and I was giving things away. And I had people coming in because word was kind of spreading around town. I had people coming in and I was starting companies, but without contracts. So I was sending
Mm.
50 grand to someone and then they weren't there anymore. And so it was this house we were staying at. It was called the Mandala House, which is an interesting name.
Mhm.
And we were having a great time. And it was the last night we were staying there. Now, at this time, I was not on any psychedelics. We had sometimes some marijuana, but it's very illegal there in some ways. So, yeah, it was the last night. We have this beautiful party. We have IV lounge, we have ice bath, we have ecstatic dance, and I'm having the time of my life. One of the best parties. I'm having a good time. And then it was towards the end of the night, and there was a projector screen, a white projector screen. We watched a lunar eclipse from Brazil, right? And we're all outside on this grass area. And all of a sudden, the moon comes into the screen. And as the moon comes into the screen, I get this overwhelming feeling of sickness. I drop to my knees and I start purging, puking and pooping for like 4 hours. I couldn't even move from this location. I couldn't move at all. And the next morning, the energy, the connection to Christ or God or the universe, because now I'm starting to unpack it more and more, is gone again. Not understanding why. Not as depressed this time. I don't have any more meds for bipolar. I have a couple of good friends that stick by my side in the upcoming time. And yeah, it's like, okay, let's move on, right? That was weird. You made a ton of mistakes. You blew a ton of money. You made all these errors. Let's just move. So pretty quickly after I meet my now wife, right? And there's also I decide to make a prototype for my fitness device. It kind of doesn't work out. It doesn't come out quite like I want it to. So I quit on that. And then my wife and I start trying to do a Pilates business for me. That doesn't quite work out. And then we decide we're going to do some real estate business over in Bali. And all of a sudden, things start to get better. Like I'm picking myself up. I don't think about really what's happened to me at all. We start to make some money, and then we get pregnant, right? And this is also a very big part of the story. My wife, she was getting her period once, maybe twice per year. Doctors all tell her you'll never have a baby. And all of a sudden we're pregnant, which was very difficult for me. Um, we were kind of maybe heading in an explorative way,
Mhm.
but it wasn't obviously meant to be. I made a few mistakes, which I can dive into later. Nobody's perfect. And ultimately, I decided, you know what, let's check in and let's have this baby together. And oh, she's a miracle baby, but that's kind of besides the point right now. So that's about 3.5 years worth of time, I would say, getting up to more so where we are closer to now. So it was about a year ago, let's say. And one of my friends and I reconnected, and he gave me the idea of restarting the cube and the opposition method and starting to work on all of these things. So I said, cool. Like, I appreciate that. Like, he gave me a new life. So I started to work on a animation design and render design with a guy on Fiverr. And this took me most of last year. Now, we started to notice that our daughter was having some issues she was always coughing. And in Indonesia, they harvest rice and then they burn the rice and they burn trash on the roads. And we decided, you know what? It's time for a change. So it was December last year. So not too long ago, we decided we're going to go to Thailand. And when we get to Thailand, there's legal marijuana there. And I've always loved weed. It's always been something that's come and gone in my life. And so when I'm doing this, basically, yeah, I'm like creating all of these animations and I start to smoke and I'm sending emails all over the world, getting really cool meetings. I'm meeting with people from NASA sometimes. I got a meeting with the German aerospace team because I also have an idea for outer space. I have a meeting with UT Austin on Zoom, and all these things are starting to unfold. And I start to get that confidence back, and I start to feel very good. And the weed is kind of too much, though.
Mhm.
My wife kind of said, this might be too much. Was smoking from like 6 a.m. all the way till 10 p.m., high functioning. And so then my wife and I start working on my rebrand on Instagram, and she teaches me how to make some videos. So I'm making these videos, And I was after about 5 or 6 of these videos. Now, this is January of this year, and I make the videos, and all of a sudden, it was like something I had actually told my wife, "This will never happen again," right? This is never gonna come back. It was like, boom, here is this feeling of Jesus again. This was around January the 20th. And it was so, in my mind, it was so sad. I was so upset. I was like, no way. No way this is back. What? Oh my God. Please, no. But it's here, right? I don't know what to do. I have to do something. So I called my spiritual guider at the time, or she still is. She's amazing. And I said, hey, like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what am I supposed to do? And she's like, well, listen, it's here for a reason. You have to get right with your family. You have to get right with your mother. Well, so I called my mom right away, right off the phone. And I said, Mom, this has happened to me again. This feeling of Jesus is back. I don't know what to do. I'm going to figure it out, but please don't cancel your trip. She was due to come 5 days later. And so, okay. She says, okay. And my dad's coming, but I haven't stopped smoking weed yet. Now it's the next night. And my wife and I kind of get into a fight, because the thing is with this story, I want people to see me. And most of the time, it's very difficult for them to see me and to understand my journey and why I feel so connected to this man, to Jesus. So just to kind of stop right here and talk about some parallels that I cannot unsee, right? Like I'm not even, I'm not a guy who's into the Bible or religion my whole life. I've never liked religion. I've never liked government, but I can't unsee some of the stories that I know about this guy. I know he spoke out against that. He spoke for unity. The burning bush was my bedroom at the apartment, right? I got crucified on the operating table. I had 14 surgeries. I had a career that got sacrificed for, I feel like, many reasons. My fitness invention and possibly to be this human. I feel like being tricked into that psych ward was a little bit of Judas. I feel like my wife getting pregnant with absolutely no reason to get pregnant with the sort of cycle she was having. She's an all-star. She's the combination, to my mind, of Mary Magdalene and the Virgin Mary. And I can't unsee what's happened to me. It's deep within me and it's here. And I'm constantly trying to kind of make sense of it. Um, and so I guess this is a good moment to pause because obviously I've told you this story and I'm sharing this story more and more with people. And it doesn't feel like anybody thinks I'm that crazy, even though I still wonder, am I insane or are we all insane? You know what I mean?
Mhm. I made it really intentional to sit until I felt like you were complete.
Yeah, there's still more, but I want
I
to
know, but,
take a
like, are
moment.
you good with that? Boom.
I feel pretty good. I feel a little still nervous and kind of like maybe I'm not saying this perfectly, but I guess that's life, It's just
Hey,
meant to
man.
come out.
Well, it flowed out of you. Wow. A lot. So, I'm gonna try to, like, get some, like, highlights along that story. So, where were you at mentally when your baseball career ended? Because that's kinda where the story started, right? So, it was like,
Mhm.
I stopped playing baseball, I needed something that led you to Pilates, and then the story began. So, where were you at mentally when you left baseball? Was it like, "Okay, it's time to move on?" Was it stripped from you because of the surgeries? Were you fed up with it? Where were you at?
Okay, so I retired in Connecticut. I went one more time to try and play, and my right knee was killing me. And it was the saddest. couple of months post of all time. I mean, when I retired, I went out to my car and I wept and I wept and I wept and
Mhm.
I wept more, and my hands were shaking, and it was a feeling of being stripped from me. I
Got
felt
it.
completely stripped. I felt wronged by the universe.
Mhm.
I felt really sad. I had no I was mad, I was like, "Why? Why has this happened to me? Like, what did I do wrong in my life? Was my karma bad? What was going on?" You know?
Mhm. That I'm not a professional athlete. I'll always be an athlete, but I can totally relate to that because it's like when your body is not cooperating,
Mm,
whether it be an injury, like heavy duty injury or a little one, you lose a bit of yourself
mm,
mentally and emotionally. So I can't imagine it on that level where it was like not only you reached the big time with MLB, but like that's your livelihood as well. Your body's your livelihood. And to be like, uh, I know you want to keep playing. I know you can.
yeah.
Like how old were you when you ended?
I was 30,
Oh yeah, you definitely had years to go, right?
and I made it to the major leagues at 22, I was young. Like,
Mhm.
some
Yeah,
guys
for
are just
sure.
getting out of college at that moment,
Yep.
and yeah, so, I mean, it didn't make any sense.
Sure. So was that like you said 14 surgeries?
Yeah,
Was that surgery 14?
yeah.
Got it, and it was the knee?
And that was neat, and a very a wild story about that final surgery was I woke up in the hospital, and one of the parts they did is called an osteotomy, where they break your tibia to make it more in line
Oh,
so that
yeah.
it kind of takes pressure off the rest of the knee. Now,
That's nasty.
I wake up in the hospital, and the computer system for my pain meds malfunctions while I'm in my sleep, and nobody notices. And I wake up feeling like I'm in a dream of pain, and it starts building and building. And by the time they almost could fix it, my body went into a full body convulsion, including my surgically repaired leg. And I snapped the bone the rest of the way through by shaking.
Mm,
So the level of, I mean, we've all dealt with pain, right? Physical, emotional, whatever. But that was just a really crazy experience of like, and then to not even,
extreme.
and then to not have it work out
Yeah, man.
was like, I was devastated.
It's a lot. The
Yeah.
reason I ask is I was just curious where you were if it was because, I don't think any athlete when they retire, whether it's good, bad, whatever, that they're like, "Yeah, it's time. I'm good. I don't wanna go back."
Mm.
It's always like that. That was my identity, right? And so I was asking because I was curious if that mind state where you were at, do you think that was the impetus of this, like, emotional and spiritual, like, uprooting to where that was, like, the nexus of all this coming forth?
Yeah, I mean, I think it had something to do with it. I didn't see any of this other stuff with feeling connected to God and Christ coming at all. It wasn't something that I anticipated. Like I said, I'm not a religious dude. I mean, even during our baseball days, it's really funny. I mean, I grew up with a best friend whose father had served in Vietnam, and for basically my whole career, I listened to these guys trash religion and government and
Mhm.
conspiracy theories, and I witnessed so many battles over Catholics and atheists talk about what was real. I never wasn't the guy to ever get involved in the battles, but I was listening. I've always been fairly listening sort of guy, unless I feel comfortable. I'm not the most outspoken guy in the world, but yeah, this was all being infused into me, I guess, over these days. So,
Mhm.
but no, I could never have seen what was really coming spiritually and mentally. Like I always said, I keep saying this, like I thought all the physical comebacks that I had were hard, but I had no idea what was coming next. Like I couldn't have predicted it was going to be worse and this dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, that inward work is far beyond
Oh yeah.
physical.
Well, I tell you, I never had any idea about spirituality. I never had any idea about really working on myself. I did some talk therapy, I guess, in my career with the sports psychologist, but
Mhm.
never felt like super depressed or anything. So all that sort of work has all come in the last, 5 years, and then
Sure.
yeah. So
So, a lot of that was prefaced with acid, psychedelics, weed, all the things.
mm,
Do you think that that was what stirred it up, or do you think that it was from the intake of the drugs?
to be honest with you, I'm still unsure. I think potentially yes, and potentially it was always meant to be this way, and I think maybe we should jump back into the story to kind of bring it to where we are today, because
Okay.
we are just a few months removed from today. I mean,
Yeah.
so kind of after I had that moment with my mother, and I kind of told her what was going on, and I asked her to come to Thailand with my dad, and they were already coming, and they said, "Yes, we're going to come. We want to understand what's going on." My wife and I kind of got into that fight that I previously mentioned, and she asked me to leave the house. So I left the house and I went down to the ocean, and I went on a beach walk. And it wasn't too long after the beach walk where all of a sudden I look out to the left, and there's these two white orb UFOs that come down in my range. And I'm like, whoa, like, is this real? Is this what's going on? And I walk like 40 minutes down to the end of the beach. It's a national park there. And so I get down to the end of the beach. And at first, I kind of do like this very primal move towards the aliens, like, leave us alone. We don't want to die. And then I kind of back off and I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. Just let me think. So I think, and then I start to say, please give me some time to help speed up and awaken consciousness here on this planet. Don't kill us. We just need some time. Please give me some time. I'll take this. I'll figure out a way to either get rid of this energy, because really, like, I don't really love, that feeling of being connected to God or Christ especially at that moment. It was scary. It is scary. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to end up back in a weird place in a psych ward, and I'm not going to see the light of day. But whatever, it's here. So that happens. And then kind of my instincts take over, and I look behind me in the woods, and there's this very clear white being watching me, glowing white eyes. And as soon as I see the being, it takes off. And by the time I can look back at the ocean, there's no more of these orbs in the sky. So I sit down and I have a joint with me. I wish I didn't have that joint, but I guess it was there for a reason. It's the last joint I've smoked, and I smoke it. And immediately I get met with the paranoid schizophrenia energy. And I think the CIA has done a psychological operation, and it's time for me to run home. So I start sprinting. I'm sprinting, screaming, I want to get home to my family. I want to get home to my family. And about 15 meters, 20 meters later, I noticed just a young, cute couple sitting there on the beach watching this scene. And I finally realized, like, hey, man, you're going to ruin your life. You're going to lose your family. I mean, that's like what I was thinking. If you keep smoking weed, no more, you're finished. And so I got home. My wife and I we made up. I went to sleep. I woke up the next day and I kind of prayed, like, please let this feeling of connection to Christ and God and the universe, just let me go back to being normal. But throughout that day, it kind of didn't go anywhere. And I still was I was confused about this UFO thing that happened to me. So I went down to the ocean that night, sober. And this time I look up at the sky and I see this another white orb UFO come down, much higher this time. And it does this little circle, right? And it just stops. And I just sit there and I pray, right? One of my friends had told me, if you want to pray to God like it's your brother. So, okay, maybe this alien is God, or maybe this star, whatever it is. And I just pray for an hour and I say, hey, listen, please take this energy away from me, this feeling of connection, or I will do what I have to do to help people, serve people, help awaken people, do what I have to do. I will figure out how this is going to work. I'm really sorry that I haven't taken this energy seriously in the past, but I'm a father now. I want to see my daughter get married. I want to walk her down the aisle. And I'm not really sure right now if we continue on this path as society that we're actually going to, that I'm going to get to do that. So I'm going to serve to do that. And it starts at home, right? So I leave the beach. And that was January like the 23rd around. And every single day since then, this feeling and this connection, the consciousness, because let me just stop right here and say, like, my thesis. I'm not Jesus. Jesus wasn't necessarily Jesus. I don't think. I don't feel. I like to say I don't feel because I don't want to assume I know anything or everything. Jesus could have been Bob for all I care. He had a message of unity. He had a message of love. He had a message of togetherness. And that's what I feel so deeply inside of me that needs to come out. It's not, I am Jesus. Because, like I said, I'm not. I'm Ryan. I'm Ryan Kalish. I have my own story, but I can't unsee these biblical parallels in my life. They won't escape me. I can't unsee what's happened. So it's like, what to do with this? So now I start training hard. I'm going to the gym. I'm not smoking. I won't drink. And, my parents come, and my mom and I, every morning, we walk the beach for an hour. We talk about the story. Sometimes she can see some of it, sometimes she can't. But mostly we're healing us. We're
Mhm.
talking about us from as a baby all the way until now. Same with my dad, and we become so close, into this day, like even to where right now my mom has, volunteered her time, like the sweetie that she is, to stay with my wife and my daughter in Thailand while I figure out or start expressing this story and, chasing the business side of things for my fitness adventure. So they're over there right now giving me this amazing opportunity to move through this and to do that. So essentially what happened over that month, because I left for LA on February the 21st. I've always been a fan of Aubrey Marcus. Like, we've talked about this. I love the man. I think he's amazing. I'm always talking about him and Rogan. Like, if only I can, get this over. Like, there's something with them,
Mhm.
whatever. But I'm talking about them and I'm having meetings and I'm taking care of as best I can to be a father, best I can to be a husband. And quite honestly, man, I need to do better. It's been so hard with this going on for me to be the best that I can be, but I'm working on that. Anyway, I'm talking about Aubrey Marcus, right? So I booked my trip February the 21st to go to Los Angeles for 3 days. And I don't check anybody's schedule. It's been 4.5 years since I returned from Asia, where I made no visits. The next day, I check Aubrey's Instagram, and he's having a book signing in LA at the Santa Monica proper 4.5 hours after I land. So, okay, that's bizarre. Let's go to the event. So I go to the event. I introduce myself quickly to him, saying how inspiring he is. He goes through his poetry books, and it's like just touching my heart. Like, I'm crying inside, but I don't know, whatever. I'm kind of holding back. And then he does a question and answer. And I ask him this question. I said, Aubrey, have you ever had a story so deep, so tough that your family, your friends, and most people close to you told you that you should probably never talk about that again. And he gave me this answer that brought me to tears in front of the entire room. He basically said, "Hey, I've never had that happen to me before, but if I did, I would tell the story. I would walk through that fire because for every one person you let tell you not to speak of this story, you're taking away the potential of it touching someone, 10% of its power." And again, I weep. And then afterwards, I have a few people approach me and say, "Hey, I want to know your story. Let's connect in Austin, blah, blah, blah."
Mhm.
So I leave the event kind of upset with myself because I feel like I could have been very direct with Aubrey because Aubrey talks about delicate incarnations on his website. He's been talking about connections to God. He talks about Jesus. And I feel like I keep saying this. It's like when I say we, sorry, when I say I mean we. That's what I feel like Jesus was saying all those years back. And like you are part of this story just as much as me. Same with Aubrey, same with the producers in this room. Like we're all one. My story, this story, our story is not bigger than somebody else's story. So I kind of wish I even think about it today. I'm like, I wish I said something more to Aubrey, but okay. It's also, it was his event. Don't throw up on his event. This was about him. So I left and I had this really distinct feeling that I wasn't going to talk about this story until I reached Austin, because in Austin, there might be some people who can be open minded enough to understand. And I'm scared. I don't want to go into a psych ward again. If I talk about feeling connected to Jesus, I might get tossed into a psych ward again. Well, the next day, I visit my friends, people who I stayed with during the first beginning part of this journey when I was 31. And they asked me, "Hey, what happened to you? We love you. We don't know what happened. We want to know. Are you okay to talk about it?" I was like, "Yes." It's kind of why I'm here. So I tell them the story. And then the next day, I tell my other friend. And then the day after that, I realize maybe my other friend's not quite ready. So I'm starting to pick up on consciousness. Being sober now and working on my mind and my soul is starting to help me up level my consciousness. And I'm working at it even today. This was just a month ago. Or even less. I'm working at my mind and my consciousness and my heart and my soul like I would on baseball. I'm taking the same mindset. How can I be better every day? Because the moment I think I have it figured out is the moment I might lose this. And I don't want to lose this anymore. This is fun. And I love people and I want to serve. So, how can I figure out how to serve with this story? So, I'm leaving Los Angeles and I've already had a free place to stay. I'm being the cheapest I've ever been because now I have a daughter and a wife, and I realize like I get a gifts. I get the gift of a free website from my friend. I get a winter jacket from my other friend. I get 2 books from my friend, and I get food to take on the plane. And so it hits me that the energy, the Christ consciousness, and let's not whatever consciousness, right? It's using like your story to serve people and not only serve, but share your authentic soul, your truth. And by giving your truth and not holding back, I was receiving things. And it was cool. I felt loved again. I felt less scared. I felt better. Now I'm going to New York. But I also, at this point, because I got so close to meeting Aubrey, in my mind, I'm like, skip New York. Let's just go to Austin because that's where he lives. But I'm like, wait, maybe there is some truth in your bipolar disorder. Don't be fixated. Go to New York. Slow down. And so, okay, I go to New York. And when I land in New York, I get an offer 2 days before to have a free place to stay from my other friend. And I think I'm only supposed to have one roommate. And this roommate, well, there's two. And the other roommate is this woman. Her name is Happy Hoffman. And it turns out that Happy knows Aubrey. She asked me very quickly, "What's your story? I think something's funny with you." So I'm like, "Okay." And I lead with Aubrey Marcus, something about him. And she's like, "Oh, are you going to his birthday party on Saturday?" I'm like, "No, but I am flying there on Saturday." I'm like, "Why? Do you know him?" And she's like, "Yeah, I stay with him and Vilana when I go to Austin. They're my good friends." And I'm like, "Okay, this is weird." And then the next day, I share it with the other roommate, and we're talking, and literally, man, I can't make this up. His Find My Phone goes off. Beep, beep, beep. But his phone is directly in front of him. He has it. The location is Austin, Texas. And I'm like, both of us are like, whoa, this is strange, right? And then the week goes on. I meet up with people I haven't seen in 20 years, and I tell them the story. And it's like, I keep talking about Aubrey and Rogan, whatever. Like, it's like maybe this story can be something to help us come together and unite. So, and the reflections in the mirror is, yeah, go tell the story. Keep doing your thing. Don't stop. Go, go, go. And then, right. So I leave there. And that was 3 weeks ago. And I come here. And my feeling is, yeah, go to On It, go to Kuya Wellness, and just do what you would do and keep being who you're going to be. And the doors will open, the universe. So now I'm like actually believing in spirituality again, because previously when back in Bali, I made a lot of mistakes and it made me really mad at spirituality. But the truth is I was really just mad at myself because I wasn't treating the energy in the world the way that I was supposed to be doing. So yeah, I mean, every day here in Austin, when somebody is coming into my scope, and it's not even just about telling this story, right? It's about just connecting with people. It's very nice to be home from or back from Asia. I mean, Asia, I love Asia, but to be able to just converse with people here and there is just like, and no matter what, because everyone speaks English, it just allows for so many things to happen. So yeah, maybe I talk to someone at the gym about them only. It's like, again, it's this story is not meant to be this pedestal story. This story, what I like to keep saying, our story, it's like, I don't know, man, we're one. So whatever Michael's going through is equally as big as what Ryan's going through. And that's where I started to understand the word narcissism and ego. They're not actually bad, in my opinion. Like, if I can feel like this story is an important story, which I feel it is, but I can empathize with everyone who I'm talking to, no matter what, then narcissism is balanced and it's useful. Same with my ego. I can feel cool. I can feel like I want to be heard, right? I mean, we all feel like we want to be heard. But if I don't come with the humility of what I've been through and remember how I got here, then I've lost the ego and now I'm in an unbalanced territory. And so yeah, I mean, man, the synchronicities go on and on. I mean, it's also my fitness invention. I call it the opposition method.
So let's pause on that
Yeah, sure, please.
because I want to give a good chunk of time to the opposition method because
Mhm.
I heard your idea and I think it's brilliant. So I would love to give that due diligence. Um, the typical thought when someone says I'm Jesus, right?
Mm.
They're like, "Yeah, sure, bro." And who cares what they think? So I love where you're going with that because it's just I'm feeling connected,
Mm.
right? That's what you're feeling.
Yeah.
So what like is the overall feeling of your expression is I am Jesus. I am feeling Christ consciousness. What is that feeling? Is it like I am abundant, I am light, I am my true self? Or is there a need for something?
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because in my opinion, if I were to ask Jesus if he needed anything, he would be like, "No, I'm good."
Mm.
Right? So do you is it a whole feeling? Right? Could it be compared to a zen, nirvana, enlightenment? Or is it like a need? And like I need to talk, I need to take, I need to express, I need to save? Or is it you feel whole enough?
I would say that it ranges. Some days I feel very whole, and yeah, I feel like the center of the universe is within us all. We have the power to access creativity and artistry. I feel like that's what we're meant to be here for. We're meant to create, we're meant to flow. And I feel like we're not necessarily set up to do so here in society. And I had this experience yesterday. I think I mentioned it to you briefly, where the I went to the store to buy some groceries, and on my way, another piece of advice that this Vietnam vet gave me a long time ago was, if you forget the religion, forget Jesus, if you want to be close to God, when you see somebody hungry on the street, not on the drugs, but hungry, and you have $5 or $10 and you already have enough, give it to that person. And I've been doing that personally for a very long time. Now, I gave this man $20 and we went in opposite directions into the same restaurant. And he was so hungry and he was so exhausted. I mean, he sprinted to the counter just to buy two sides. That's it. And I watched him eat. And then I even wanted to try and give him a little bit more money. And he wouldn't even look at me because he felt shame.
Mm,
And it crushed me, man. And you know what I said? I said, you know what? If I need to be Jesus, or if somebody else needs to be Jesus for this world for a little while, because truthfully, what I believe, like, okay, I'll do it. I don't care what it takes anymore. I am like, it pains me so deep to see that. And I'm also in touch with people from Africa right now who can't even use their university degrees to leave. I mean, everything in this studio is probably made from some sort of mineral coming from Africa, and it's all cheap labor. You know, it's a company who's getting those things on the back of essentially very cheap, almost slave labor. But you know what else is bizarre when I think of this story? I have two businesses in Indonesia and I have Muslim workers working for me right now. And these guys come over, they leave their families from a different island to Bali, and they sleep in horrific conditions all together. And I go to the sites. I was going to the sites, and the guys, they all watch, you know, the owners of these buildings come, and you can see the pain in their eyes. You know, so to go back to your question, I feel balanced sometimes, and then I get out of balance sometimes, but I always try and keep it within me. I don't really like to put that on people because it's my own feelings. And actually, speaking about this to you now, I realize I need to do even better with my wife, because my wife is my rock. She's my love, and sometimes I dump these feelings on her because I don't want to put them on you at the gym or somebody else at the gym. And I really need to even work stronger and harder at just taking these emotions and figuring out how to keep them within me and not express them, I guess, because some days I feel completely whole and enlightened, and other days I feel not good. Mostly good right now. But yesterday with this experience at the grocery store, it rocked me. And then seeing the bombs start again in Gaza, like, I feel like we have a choice as society right now. We could literally get on, everyone could just collectively say, let's figure this thing out. It's possible. And for whatever reason, it's pretty much the only thing I think about all day, every day. It won't go anywhere. And I don't even want it to. You know, I guess I don't need
So when you say it's what you think about every day, all day, what in particular?
world peace. You know, I
That's
think
a big task. It's a
is it?
big task.
Is it though?
Well, I guess it depends on how far you're looking. Like
Mm,
if you're looking at the war in Gaza, that's a big task. If you're looking at giving that young man $20, that's right in front of us. One of my friends and I, we have this agreement.
mm,
And of course we want to change the world. Of course we want world peace. Of course. But there are so many things coming in. The news, like how many catastrophes are in the world right now,
that's
you know? And I think, in my opinion, in our opinion, Isaiah is his name. We came to this conclusion where it's my number one goal is to focus on my kingdom.
mm,
What's in my kingdom right now, right? It's my girl, it's my family, my friends, my community, in and outside of my job. That's my kingdom. Because if
mhm,
I let Gaza, I'm outside of my kingdom, right? And so that's just me. I'm going, of course I care about the whole planet. I agree with you. We are one. But for me personally, I'm going, I got it. If this kingdom ain't right, none of it, I can't help any of this.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? And so that's where I think that our role can start. And then it compounds out from there, right?
mhm.
So I love what you're saying. And I'm just trying to put the pieces together with like what's your role? What's your mission? What is this story going to lead to? What's Ryan's next plan of attack to not only serve outside but serve inside?
Mm. Well,
You know? Do you feel peace? Do you feel like I'm I'm Ryan and I'm like authentically happy with that?
yes,
I love that.
it's not even a
I
question.
love that.
I had a therapy session at Kuya Wellness
Mhm.
very recently, um, and we went through myself in the womb. We went through myself as a 6-year-old boy, a 23-year-old boy, and I had to forgive those versions of myself for things that were happening and forgive things with my mom. And I mean, I wept and I wept and I brought these versions of myself with me here today, and I showed them who I've become. I've showed them that I'm sober, I'm a father, I'm doing my best, and it really helped me to bring peace. Like, I don't feel very anxious at all anymore, or I mean, I'm not depressed by any means. In fact, I feel very much in my purpose and in my service. Even and for me, it feels like, as far as plan of attack is concerned, the amount of reflections in the mirror from other people to just continue to be myself, show up for people, and tell this story
Mm.
is it's like almost 100% of people say, keep telling the story, share the story, share the story. And so that's what I want to do, and not just force it on people though. I love to be invited. I don't, I've done a lot of outreach. I've sent my story in text form to a bunch of podcasts. I haven't heard anything, and it's cool. That's a part of the experience.
Mhm.
Like, I don't feel any upset. I'm not upset with anyone who can't see this. That's why we're here, because I feel like it's like my intuition and my soul are very clear right now, especially with sobriety, that these creative ideas come to me all the time in creation and artistry. Like, and my art is art is not subject to a painting, right? Or It's not. It's just how you show up every day for people. Or that's how I'm doing it. And I'm just going to keep showing up, just like in baseball. You just get up every day and you just keep putting on your shoes, keep putting on the work, keep going, don't stop. And that's what I'm going to do.
Embodiment.
Yeah. Embodiment and keep
Let it
learning.
just shine through you.
Yeah. That's what it feels like is happening. And it's so nice because I finally have friends again. I didn't have friends for a long time. I mean, I had friends. That's not true. I had some friends in Asia, but it was far away from home. And coming to Austin, the gym, meeting you and everyone else I'm meeting, I feel like I'm getting a phone number per day. I'm getting invited to these amazing parties happening all over Austin with, spirituality or maybe a little bit more corporate. I love to walk in all the worlds.
Mhm.
I think that's super important for me. I just love all of it, and I love meeting people like everywhere. It doesn't matter what it is you're up to, what's going on. Like I want to know about you because every conversation is a teacher. I learn so much from every person I speak to across from me. Like even this podcast, you're
Mhm.
teaching me so much. And this is what I love to do. I've always loved to do this. It's not like I don't feel different. I just feel like I keep saying, I just put this on my Instagram and we talked about it. Constant consciousness calibration. And it's just like in baseball, every swing is an opportunity to lock in a little bit more. So every conversation and everything in my field
Mm.
is an opportunity to grow. And it's fun. I'm in the present moment like I've never experienced before. It's fantastic, actually.
I think that any person in any walk of life could say that that's a major component to what we're trying to achieve here is presence. So
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
So I'm curious about you. What do you make of
Yeah.
all this?
This story,
So the story or just your feeling? It doesn't have to, whatever flows, man.
it's speaking to me a lot because I've had that overwhelming feeling my whole life as well. Not necessarily the same one that you're expressing, but the need to change the world
Mm,
on this big scale, right? Like, I know that I'm meant for more. And saying that out loud, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of ego behind that, right? So I had to put deeper meaning behind it. I had to in a way make it more that bigger than me.
mm,
That was my goal. It was like I know that I can do something big. And it started out with sports. I want significance. I love playing sports. I want to be in the spotlight. And
mm,
that led to being a musician. Get me on stage. And that was where it was dangerous because it was all the things that come along with that: sex, drugs, rock and roll. But then my art became poison
mm.
because it wasn't to create and express. It was let's let's get famous and let's have people tell us how cool we are,
Yeah.
right? And once I started feeling that love turn into this slithering thing, I had to walk away from that. Um, and I questioned. I'm like, you just want people to think you're cool.
Mm,
Like my mission, my driving force was I'm helping bring people together. I'm giving people my gift,
mm,
right? That's what I thought I was doing, but the underlying reality of it was all self-serving.
mm,
And so that put me into a lot of multiple walls, standstills, and it was all the standstill here, right? And I had to redefine what changing the world was. Is because I was best way to put this is ugly on the inside.
Mm.
I'm helping people, right? I'm a coach. I'm helping people. I make music. I make people smile. I'm kind. But it was all selfish
Mm.
because I was doing it for validation. It's almost like, do you pick up a piece of trash and put it in the trash can when no one's looking? Or do you pick it up and make sure someone sees you do the good deed?
Mm.
That's what I felt like my life was full of, was watch me do good. Not just like how cool I am. It went from like, watch me and tell me how cool I am to, I'm going to post this on Instagram so someone sees that I'm doing good in the world. And I'm going, this is hollow too.
Mm.
And so it had to be, what do you do when no one's looking, Michael? Do you pick up the trash? Are you kind, particularly to those that you see all the time? Of course, we're kind to strangers. Hopefully, we're kind to strangers. But am I kind to my girl that I've known for years, that has seen me ugly? You know, those things,
Mm.
those things. And that helped me define my purpose, because it was like, function, that's fitness and coaching and movement, the body, we got to take care of this vessel. The mindset behind it, that's the athlete that that has the grind,
Mm.
the ability to overcome and persevere, delayed gratification, all the things that are mindset. And then purpose is that something outside of yourself.
Mm.
And now I'm going, how does purpose circle all of that? Does purpose circle my workouts? Am I doing this just to have abs? Or am I doing this to be a better person and live longer and show someone
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
teach someone something?
Yeah.
Am I cultivating, you went to that mindset presentation last weekend.
Yeah. It was amazing.
That was
by the way.
really good. Thank you,
It
brother.
was the best.
That was really good for me, because I'm going, who am I to teach someone how to live in their mind? And that's why it was so beautiful, because it was a conversation. And then there was a mega purpose behind that, which was like, y'all are teaching me. I'm kind of throwing up a softball, and you were like, here you
Yeah.
go, dinger. And so it's, for me, it's that purpose is something outside of myself. And how can I go more and more and more outside of myself and remove myself?
Mm.
Never removing ego,
Yeah.
because that's that guide. That's that beautiful guide.
Yeah.
But someone told me that the most selfish thing you can do is try to help someone. And I'm going, what? He's like, it's still ego.
Mm.
It's still selfish. And so it has to come, like, if I'm good, if I'm teaching me, if I'm living in alignment, that's enough. Of course, my job is a coach. Of course, my purpose and my duty here is to help and be a leader
Yeah.
and a listener. But if it's just me shining, that's enough. I don't need to be like, I am this and I am a coach and I'm here to do this. Does that make sense? I'm like
Yes.
trying to like turn myself inside out.
I get it, man.
You know?
Yeah. I think what I'm hearing is, as a coach, you also want to be coached, and you're finding the balance
Have
in
to.
between always. I mean, this is what like I spoke about, the narcissism and the ego, but it's just so much deeper than that. Like, I mean, yeah, like there's this part of me that kind of wants to become a leader. But the truth is what I really want is to teach people how to lead themselves, or,
Boom. That's what I've been looking for.
you know what I mean? And not even teach them, let them see it, let them teach themselves
That it was there
just
the
by
whole
talking.
time.
Yeah, just by a chat. That's the idea here. That's what I want to get to. Or I feel like we're here. It's the time for it now. And it's exciting, how are we doing on this time right now?
We're good, brother.
Okay. You
Yeah.
tell me when we can just chat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. But yeah, it's that's the idea. Like just showing up and conversing with people, not even letting them know that I have any sort of goal. Because I do. We all do. We should. I feel like, I keep saying I feel like, for a reason, because I don't like absolutes.
Mm.
Absolutes feel too much for me. So I think I would like.
Currently, I am experiencing this feeling.
Yes.
So I would be remiss. My 8-year-old self would be remiss if we didn't talk about what it was like to play center field at Fenway.
Mm.
Talk about some of your highlights as a baseball player.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's fun. That's real fun. Well, I would say that my first home run was at Yankee Stadium, which was the team I grew
As
up
a Red Sox?
as a Red Sox. No, I grew up in New Jersey and I was a Yankee fan, but my family is from Boston. So we were there. And when it was like Yankee Stadium. I'm 22 years old. I got Mark Teixeira at first base, Robinson Cano, Derek Jeter, the idol of my existence, Alex Rodriguez,
Watching you.
and I hit a home run, in front of all my friends.
Are you a lefty or a righty?
I'm a lefty.
I was picturing you on the left side for some reason.
Yep, left side,
Okay.
lefty. And yeah, I hit a bomb, and it's to right center field against Javier Vasquez.
And that was your first one?
First one.
First major league?
I only hit 4 in that time. I was only hit 4 homers. 2 of them were grand slams at Fenway. Yeah.
2 out of 4, 50% grand slam ratio?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes, and that was a very, very cool experience. And a lot of it was the spectacular plays. I was like a Ferrari without a fine tuning engine, like, how
With your glove?
yeah, I was so fast. I had all the tools, but I didn't have a routine to take care of my body, and I was wound up tight. So that's kind of what got me with the injuries. But there's a few plays that I made that people still kind of, when they see me or they recognize who I was, they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that was that play." Like,
Yeah.
I never seen anything like that. And so the home runs, Mariano Rivera, I got a hit against him,
The finisher of
1
all
for 2.
finishers.
I blew it. Yeah. What happened was, we were down 1, and I get a single up the middle. I mean, I smashed him, like, good. I steal second and third in the next 2 pitches. And then
Yeah, boy.
the next
That's like Sandlot shit.
Yeah, I was fast. I love stealing. And then the next guy hit me in, so we gave him a blown save. So there was it felt like I was there to be a superstar. And obviously it didn't really pan out that way. But man, the thing about now is I almost feel, and I'm kind of gonna kind of circle back to this consciousness connection thing. I feel like my entire life was chosen for me. I had 0 choice.
Mm.
Like, this was the way it was gonna be. There was nothing different that I could have done until now, until that moment on the beach where I realized marijuana is no longer serving me. Now you have a choice. What are you gonna do with this? That was the moment where felt like now there's choices to be made. But before that, it was like this complete, I like to call it a beautiful mess, happened exactly as, the universe chose. And I feel like this isn't like, I didn't discover this. I guess I self-discovered, but also not, because, you do listen to certain influencers out there who are talking about this message, who are saying, like, the universe is within you.
Mhm.
Everything is happening for a reason. I've listened to all of them, but I didn't really feel it for myself until just recently. And it's brought me a lot of peace.
I think that should almost be a prerequisite, like, disclaimer for everyone starting their spiritual journey is like, if you think it's going to be like this person's,
Mm,
wrong.
yeah.
Because I'm a coach and I'm programming for people. This program will get you this. It'll get you jacked. It'll help you shred. It'll get you more mobility.
Yeah.
there's not a spirituality program where it's like follow these steps and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
man.
so that's such a interesting thing, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not like an 8-week thing. It's the rest of your life here.
Yes.
Not that it's a bad thing at all. I mean, I feel like it's the wisest thing that I could have done was chosen to go inward. But yeah, it's
Well,
part of it is understanding that it's never over.
it's never over. Everyone's path is definitely different, and I think that everyone's story is important to share on an equal playing field. And one of my friends in LA, her name is Christy Rose. She said this amazing quote. Because I was like, should I be talking about this story? She says, yes, because what's most personal is the most universal.
Mm,
And that really hit me. Like, okay,
yeah.
that's good. And it's like you said, it's like everyone's spiritual journey is not the same. And it's, in my opinion, I feel like it's all leading to this feeling of you are so much more capable than you believe you really are. It's within you. If, like, I know, yeah, people want to be artists. They have like a passion project. And sometimes they feel nervous to actually go chase the passion project because it's not safe.
Right.
They
And
don't,
there's more judgment
there's more
around
judgment,
it.
all these things. And
Mhm.
if they chase that, if they go for it, they have fear, just like me stepping in this studio to speak this story. There's fear. And what's on the other side of fear, there might be more judgment for whatever, but do you believe it? Is it yours? Like, are you connected so deeply to that passion project or that possibility of stepping outside that job that you don't really love and doing this thing? And if you do that, I feel most of the time, if you're aligned and actionable and it's really deep, your artistry will come out in amazing ways that is unforeseen. Because, like, for me, with this feeling and this story, I imagine things all the time of what's possible.
Mhm.
And I love to access my childlike imagination.
I was just gonna say that I think that that's a lost art,
Oh,
is
yes.
that imagination.
I imagine all sorts of stuff that are all positive now. And more positive stuff starts coming to me. And typically, it doesn't happen exactly as I imagine. So,
Mhm.
not finding attachment to those imaginative ideas, I really love this phrase: aim, allow, patience, arrive. So I'm aiming for whatever it is I'm aiming for. And yeah, like, but aim, allow. So I'm allowing for change. And I'm also trying to make sure I don't get too attached to anything,
Mhm.
stay within. And then I'm arriving to a beautiful human every day.
Yeah.
And that human is leading me to more. And we're all coming together. And that's the spirit that I love.
It's beautiful. Yeah, man, I commend you because even myself, we start thinking, who am I to ask for help, to tell this story, to share my vulnerabilities? No one wants to hear it. And so I commend you for being a role model and inspiring people to tell their story, to feel okay that they might have gone through some of the similar things that you shared today, and that it will lead to something more profound and bigger and better and more beautiful if you just keep rolling, right?
Mm.
You don't stay in it, you roll in it, you
Yeah.
roll through it.
Yes.
So let's talk about your invention.
Okay. I'm down.
This had me amped, man, as like someone that I do a lot of experimenting in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
Been
Yeah.
doing it for 30 years, right? So it's like, ooh, what about that? What if I tried this? And then I fell in love. Been doing inversion training for a long time,
Mm.
hanging upside down at the very least, experimenting with that. So tell us what the cube is.
Okay. The cube is a three-dimensional tension trainer and it has multifaceted ideas. Let's just start with the foundation for now.
Which is
It's the decompression squat.
yes.
So essentially, yeah, and it's the opposition method. So you would have somebody's feet secure on the ground so they can't be lifted up, but then you will pull them up to
Is it
this.
attached from the hip or the torso that's
It's,
pulling upward?
I would like the torso, but on the back, not, oh, no, probably not the front because of the face, but in
Like,
the
right
between
in
the
the upper
shoulder
back.
blades or the pelvis area, depending on, because the armpits could be like, for you, you could handle the armpits like a padded thing here,
Mhm.
and you just lock in the lats and then you squat down. But for maybe someone who's a little bit older, I don't know yet. This is all,
But the concept is feet are anchored,
yes.
and then there's an upward tension pulling the spine longer.
Yeah, pulling from the spine, but it's meant to decompress and pull the whole body, right? Because you have your feet anchored.
Because it's
So
not preventing you from going into the squat,
no, no, no.
correct? It's just like, let's say 20 pounds of tension.
It's all not known yet. This is an untapped
Got
thing.
it.
So it could be 70% of your body weight. It might require, for you,
Less.
it could be more. I mean, you, if you're hanging upside down, you're probably getting close to 100%.
Mhm.
And for you, maybe it's even more. We don't know
Sure,
yet. We don't
sure.
know what we don't know, which is so fun.
But it'll be adjustable and an experiment and all the things.
Yes.
I love that because what I feel
Mm.
when I'm inverted, and then I'll even do inverted squats.
Well, it's just
So when I'm
intense.
upside down and you're using your hamstrings to pull your knees into flexion,
Yeah.
and that is such a good feeling. So I cannot imagine, and that takes a lot of strength and effort. So I can't imagine what that decompression squat feels like.
I barely know, but I have a feeling. I had a quick, brief prototype where we were using bungee cords,
Yeah.
so there was a limitation to the tension.
Uh-huh.
Like it would get strong, and you couldn't go into full range of motion. But with a proper prototype or a design, um, when you're able to, first, you get pulled up, so you're automatically decompressing all of your joints
Mhm.
from your spine down to your ankles and in between. And then now you fire the reverse combination of muscles that pull you into a squat, which we've
Yeah.
never done once
It's like
before.
the it's a reverse eccentric.
Antagonist squat,
Mhm,
eccentric
mhm,
squat, whatever you
mhm.
want to call it. Yeah, you would think, like, and I like to think of it like this. We come out of the womb automatically in in compression,
Mhm.
gravity,
Mhm, mhm.
and then sports, and then sitting at the desk, and then standing at the desk, sitting, standing, sitting, standing, compression. And
Even
it's,
sleeping, bro.
oh yeah,
There's still so that's why I always say the inversion boots are so like, unless you're in water,
sure.
we're always having some sort of compression, right?
Yeah. And for me, it's like I don't feel comfortable inverting with all the surgeries I have. So this is for
It's a
me.
safe play, man.
It's for me.
Some of the greatest inventions are people that hit the end of the road in their healing, and they're like, "I'm gonna study for myself."
Mm,
And then they have a breakthrough for gut health or whatever, you know? And so I
yeah.
love where you're going with this. And then athletically, sports performance wise, I was so stoked to see the capability to set up for rotation. Like in
Mm,
that 3D model, I saw it was like an athlete swinging a bat or
yep.
doing some sort of swing, and it was a counter resistance on the hips and the shoulders, right?
Yeah. So trying to explain it simply, it's a cube, a three-dimensional cube that you or I would stand in the middle,
Mhm.
and there would be cables and a bodysuit on you, and cables that would come from any direction in three dimensions that you wanted to attach to an athlete or an old person walking to, because that's where the opposition method comes. I'm opposing the center of gravity. I want to pull it apart because the center of gravity is
Closing down
energetically
on
closing,
itself.
it's closing down on itself. So now let's pull it apart and obviously reverse the squat. And this sort of vibe, yeah, I mean, it's untapped what the possibilities are. And I feel so deeply through my own personal experience that I kind of already know what they are. It's just it's just difficult for certain people to kind of get on board with it
Mhm.
because it's a bit out of the normal. societal university structure,
Yeah.
which is also kind of bizarre with the other story and spirituality. Like the opposition method is not just for this invention, it's for what I believe would be nice in society.
Mhm.
Uh, I
That's beautiful.
mean, could you imagine if, because like, okay, I'm not special in this story. What I think are special is poor homeless people sleeping on the streets. And I think the super wealthy are the people who could be heroes beyond heroes. If
Talk
they,
about opposition.
yeah, I mean, there's a book, my friend Will Blakey showed me. It's about, the consciousness of wealth. And if people were willing to accept $55 million dollars a year, there would be no more of these issues. 55 million, man. Could you imagine? How would your life be with $55 million dollars? Like if the wealthy was cool with, I'm gonna say, I
Like
take
everyone gets $55 million.
it starts at the top. Could you imagine like the owners of Tesla, Amazon, Facebook, and
Like the cap to your yearly
yeah,
salary
like a
is
salary
55
cap,
mil.
like a sports idea, 55 million.
Why is that not enough?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out myself.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's generational wealth.
it's plenty. And then you don't have to have women with kids on their back in Africa digging in the minefields for all of the electrical equipment inside this studio. You can have, maybe they'd even want to do it, man, if they had proper setups.
You know what? I just had a vision, bro. I got to share it.
Go,
Let's manifest it. Let's get
please.
let's get Elon Musk to
Woo.
put out the cube.
You know, on my Instagram, have you seen the video? This is even more fun.
The 3D rendering?
No, on my Instagram, I have a reel and it says discover Tesla Sports and Rehabilitation Division. And it's a reel I made to Elon and I talked to him. You got to see it now because this is hilarious that you brought this up.
Mm,
I mean, it's not even, I shouldn't even be surprised at this point.
right. Well, I don't even have to feel. I felt aspects of a decompression squat and an
Mm,
opposition, all the opposition, the rotation, all the things. And so you don't even have to explain to me the science of it. I've been doing this a long time and I see massive potential. So I'm excited to like maybe even start working on a prototype inside of a rig and
yeah, yeah.
we can experiment.
I'm down.
But let's bring this home.
Yes.
You feel good?
Oh, I feel so much better.
Feel
Remember
lighter?
how nervous I was before we started this?
I could see it a little bit, but you were cool, man. It's like you've been in the spotlight a few times.
Yes.
So, what do you see for yourself moving forward as far as, of course, keep telling your story, right?
Yes.
What are you going to do moving forward as far as Ryan's mission on the inside and outside, and let's say outside being the cube?
Mm. Well, I have to be honest, it's been quite difficult because my soul is very into telling the story right now more than focusing on business per se, because I feel like the idea of the cube is also spiritual and it almost transcends normal business. Like we're talking about this right now on this podcast. I don't have patents, I don't have protection, but I have faith that people will, if somebody big in a company hears this, they'll want to work with me.
What's the cube?
What's the
What's the
cube?
cube, Ryan?
They, I also have the story to go with the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel myself speaking about this story and then also being on stages talking about the cube and what's coming next and what are we doing to make athletes and people better. I mean, it not even athletes. It honestly, for me, the decompression squat starts with more the elderly because I had a reflection from a high end researcher out of Pennsylvania, and he said this could save lives. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, because you're reversing like like a lot of old people, they fall forward and they break their hip. And after they break a hip, there's a 50-50 chance their organs collapse and they die. And he said, because you're reversing this energy, they'll be more balanced and they'll probably fall less. So I guess, yeah, I mean, my overall vision is to, I don't know, just love people, man, and be there for people. And I don't know, like find the balance between service of others and service to myself. I mean, I'm going to continue working out. I'm sober. That's huge. I want to make my family close again, My mom, my wife, and my daughter right now are in Thailand right now away from me, and it is hard for me because they felt and I felt that I needed to go and start talking
Mhm.
and expressing, and I feel very much like I want them back soon
Mm.
because this is hard for me. I mean, I cry most every other day. I see my daughter doing something new, and I'm missing it right now. And I know I don't feel like I should be in Thailand, and they don't want me there either because they feel the opportunities through the business of the cube and the story. But it's hard, man. I miss them a lot. So
So how are they gonna what's the unification process there? Are they gonna move here, or are you going back to Thailand?
no, they're coming here at the end of May. I mean,
Cool.
sorry, end of April. End of April. So about
So in
5
like a
weeks.
month?
Yeah, 5 weeks.
Glorious. For
Go.
good or a trip?
My wife wants to try 90 days. There's a visa, a 90-day visa for
Amazing.
her, and we want to reconnect, and we already are. I mean, we're healing from a distance, me and her. I mean, we're close, and there's been a lot with all of this for her. I mean, I've kind of changed a few times in our relationship, so there's a lot to work through, and I feel very confident and good that we will. And I can't wait for them to come. And in the meantime, it's work on me, be invited where I'm invited, meet people, make friends, you know, and just connect, man. That's what's up.
Amen. That's it.
I think that's
You're
it.
all heart. You're all
Uh,
heart, brother.
oh, so
And
are
I
you.
love that. I love when I meet fellow athletes. There's a bond there immediately, and
Yes.
then when there's a depth and the seeking, the like athlete's drive
Mm,
goes from the physical and the sport to spiritual and helping on a bigger scale. That's my favorite thing in the whole world, to watch it, to be a part of it, to feel that it's inside of me,
hmm.
and to see the echo of it. And so I'm so happy we met, man, and
Yes.
cheers to the future, huh?
Yeah. Cheers to the future. I'm so thankful you came into my life, man, and walked into this room with me. I had a lot of fear, and it's fading more and more. And if it wasn't for men like you and people like coming into my life all over every single day, um, yeah. I think we did good today. I think we did all right.
Yeah, me too.
So I appreciate
The
you.
power of brotherhood.
Yes, and sisterhood. I mean, Janelle's out there.
Mhm.
We don't forget. She gave me the box breathing. She gave me a conversation in the waiting room that like really I was kind of freaking, and she gave me just beautiful knowledge and reflection. So
Yeah.
we keep on going.
And this place,
Yeah,
this
this is sick.
studio,
This is insane.
it's so beautiful.
I don't want to leave
Just
us.
just blessed.
Yeah.
Super blessed. Well, this has kind of been unorthodox from the start, so let's end there.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Love you, bro.
I love you too.